In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I humbly thank God for great time we have had since we arrived in Subiaco Centre, and I thank for the beautiful presentations we had from the sisters, and I pray God helps me to share with you some ideas. The topic for this round of meeting of the Shia sisters and Benedictine sisters is formation. And the reason for suggesting this topic was because I thought we need to work together and share our experiences and resources so that, God willing, we can understand better how to have formation in the school of God. So some of you are already familiar with this idea of the school of God, because last year in June in Mariapolis Piero I mentioned this idea. Some of you are hearing for the first time. I am really in need of your ideas and your experiences and your expertise, and I am here really as a seeker of knowledge and wisdom. So there is a story behind this topic. In 2015, in February 2015, when we took a group of sisters from Como to Lopiano in Italy, which is the small town for the Focolare. And this was their second visit, and they were supposed to stay for a month. And with my wife, we decided that we take them there and stay 2-3 days and then leave them there so that they have a little formation. They should have, worked and studied with those who are in the formation, so that as Muslims they can observe the formation in the Focolare movement. So what happened was that because my wife's passport was stolen at the airport, we had to stay longer. And therefore, we had a kind of program that they were not planned for us. And thanks to God, we had some of our best experiences in those extra days that we stayed there. So this, a stealing of my wife's passport was somehow turned into a blessing. And I remember one day we went to the place for the priests in a city near in Lopiano, in Chisa. And we visited the house of the priest, and then they offered us, something to drink. And at that time I didn't feel, drinking, but I said I should say yes. So we said yes, and we went upstairs to their kitchen. We sat around the table and we had wonderful discussion, amazing discussion with these priests. They asked me about my experience with Focolare, and so this is 2015, and I already knew Focolare for about 18 years. So when I started talking to them about my experiences with Focolare and how I, see the value of our relation, etc., I started understanding better. Maybe you have had this experience that sometimes when you try to explain and articulate, you yourself understand better and you appreciate better. So I came to understand different things, different examples came to my mind, which I benefited from for many years. I kept, using them. One of the things I mentioned to those priests was, in Islamic understanding, God has sent different prophets to different nations, and they have spoken in different languages. They addressed common topics and sometimes specific topics of that nation or that time. They were all supported by God through revelation. But when little by little their teachings were put together and there was a whole tradition built around the scripture in different languages, different geographical realities, etc., we thought God has sent different religions. We thought God sends a religion and then it expires. God sends another religion and then it expires or it's abrogated, and then God sends another religion. We think that, for example, Moses has brought a new religion, Jesus has brought a new religion, Prophet Muhammad has brought a new religion. This is very common among many people who study religions, that they think we have different religions and different founders, and these key figures, they have brought new religions. I said to the priest, but my understanding is that in the end of time, we will not have different schools. One school for Islam, one school for Christianity, one school for Judaism, etc. In the end of time, there would be only one school, and that is a school of God. Muslims, Christians, Jews, all will be part of the school of God. We can have different teachers. We can benefit from Jesus, from Moses, from Prophet Muhammad, from other saints and prophets, etc. But we will have only one authority, and that is God. One syllabus. Yeah, but different teachers, different levels, different classrooms. Yeah, but only one school. So this example came to my mind just in that meeting and remained in my mind for many years. Then in the last 2 rounds of Wings of Unity, the project we started with Sophia University, we discussed this idea of a school of God. And after about 10 years, we went back to this topic and we had very good discussions. Normally every round has one topic, but this time we discussed it again. And it was last year in June that we talked about a school of God, and then we came to Kenya. So I presented, pardon?
Senegal.
Yeah, in Senegal also, but before that, Kenya. Kenya in June. And then Senegal was later. So in Maria Plus Piero, I talked about the School of God. First Italy, then Maria Plus Piero. And this became a book. I will show you the book later. Then we went to Brazil. In September, we were in Brazil. In Brazil, I discussed, and there was great response. And I was surprised that how much people appreciated, and they didn't think this is something, for example, coming from a Muslim and, maybe not acceptable to Christians, etc. They very much related to it. Even I heard that one priest who was in the hall when I talked about the School of God, then went to his parish and told people, I wish you were there in this meeting. And he told them that in the end of time, there will be no separate school for Islam or Christianity. There will be a school of God. So it was very interesting for me. So then in Senegal, we went to Senegal for the Catholic Shia dialogue. Also, I shared with my Catholic and Shia brothers and sisters there. So we suggested that when we come to Subiaco, it would be good to discuss this, because I want to understand better the topic and benefit from experiences and ideas of my Christian brothers and sisters, whether it's Focolare, Benedictines, whoever can help, so that we can better understand what we should do. Because although this is going to happen in the end of time, but we need to prepare for that. We need to start somewhere, a small scale schools of God that operates with the same parameters. So, this is a summary of what I have been sharing from last June about a School of God. It's a very brief summary. So, God has always revealed one message through multiple prophets, each speaking the language and culture of their own community. Quranic basis. God says in chapter 16, verse 36, we have sent a messenger to every nation. لَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. God says also, we did not send any apostle except with the language of his people. مَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ. So if Prophet Muhammad was supposedly sent to another nation, maybe he had spoken another language. So these languages are not showing substantial difference in the message. Messages explain different languages. Diversity of expression is contextual, not essential. The message is one in origin.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I have a question?
Please afterwards. You can have question, but don't mention it. Please keep your question. The tragedy of historical division. Unfortunately, human beings misunderstood diversity of expression as diversity of essence. You are following me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a big mistake. Communities hardened into separate identities, leading to fragmentation, rivalries, sectarianism, violence justified in the name of God. This is a major theological mistake. But in the future, there would be one school, one curriculum, many teachers. And this doesn't mean Christians become Muslims, or Muslims become Christians, or Jews become Muslim, etc. It means that Jews and Christians and Muslims all become united under one God. This, unity of God and unity of God in God is our theme, all these years. So we will not have separate religious schools. Christian school, Jewish school, Muslim school. Instead, there will be one school of God, characterized by one authority, that is God, one curriculum, divine wisdom, presented to us in different scriptures, but the core is the same. And there will be many teachers, prophets, sages, reformers, etc. Diversity of teachers enriches, not divides. The school of God already exists. This is also important. we are all now in the school of God. But unfortunately, maybe we have not really consciously subscribed to the school of God. Otherwise, the whole world is a school. And we are all in that school, but sometimes we don't know we are in the school. Like children who are in their school and they think they have to play in the school, or they have to fight in the school. They don't know that this is where they have to learn and make themselves better. So, a school of God already exists. Anyone sincerely working for unity, love, mercy, and truth is already a student in the school of God.
And justice.
Yeah. So justice is connected to truth. So when I meet, for example, my Christian brothers and sisters who are sincere, dedicated, I see that this person has been trained in the school of God. Maybe they are from Focolare, maybe they are Benedictines, maybe there are other groups, maybe they are missionaries of Africa. But you see, these individuals must have been trained by God in the school of God. I should not think they are, for example, trained in another separate school than, for example, where I can be trained. On the surface, I see differences, but I have to go deeper and see this. These are the people who have been in the school of God. Membership is not determined by religious label, denomination, formal affiliation. It is determined by alignment with God's will and commitment to unity. So every person who is trying to live according to the will of God and is committed to bring unity to humanity is already in the school of God. And I want to connect with them. I want to learn from them. I want to help each other. How to recognize a student of God's school? They reflect God's light through love, mercy, respect, honor, unity. These are examples. I'm not aiming at exhausting. Transcending boundaries. Those who belong to the school of God, these are figures that they go above boundaries, racial boundaries, sectarian boundaries. Because if you are really a lover of God, what do? Some people think they love God, but indeed they want to possess God. Yeah? Some people love God as they love their cars and their house and their money. So they want to control God, and they don't give easily access to other people to their God. Yeah? Either, for example, you follow my way, or you don't have no access to God. But if we really love God, we will be possessed by God, not possessing God. We will be possessed by God, and then we will rise higher. So either you bring God down to make it your personal, tribal, sectarian God, or you rise and you become a godly person. If you become a godly person, these boundaries are not going to limit you. I am from this country, that country. I am from this denomination or that denomination, this religion or that religion. These boundaries are there, but they don't limit you, because you try to look at things from God's perspective. We have discussed this in 2 rounds of Wings of Unity about how we can think of God in God and look at things from God's perspective. Sectarian, divisive, or hostile behavior indicates belonging to the school of Satan. So we have a school of God, we have a school of Satan. Everyone who's trying to divide people, he is not a student in the school of God. He is under the influence of Satan, because Satan wants to divide us and create, war and hatred among us. The hallmark for this school, the opposite school, is division. For a school of God is unity. Then the whole world is a school for God, and the whole life is our curriculum. You know, when we go to seminary or university or college, etc., we have certain hours for education, and that is normally in the classroom or in a theater. And then rest of the day you are free. Maybe you study, maybe you do other things. Then you have your holidays, weekends, sometimes 1 month, 2 month holidays. Yeah? So in the ordinary schools and academic institutions, you learn normally within boundaries of a classroom or lecture theater in limited hours with specified teachers. But in God's school, whole life is like a classroom. I may learn something in the classroom from my teachers. I may learn something outside the classroom from my classmates or from, people on the street, from people in the community. Even I may learn from enemies. Sometimes God gives us lessons through our enemies. Yeah. Yeah. So, if you want to learn from God, you have to be 24 hours, 7 days alert. Sometimes when you think you have done everything and you want just to relax, God says, now let me give you a lesson. Okay? Someone maybe knocks the door, says something, or someone sends a message or something, or something happens in the family. So you have to be always ready for learning. So God's school is not confined to formal classrooms. Actually, I believe that maybe this is common among all seminarians, for example, that when we are in seminary, we very much enjoy our lessons. And sometimes, we want to remain in seminary for the whole life, just learn and teach and, do research. It's very enjoyable. And we say, because I want to learn. That's good. But the thing is that this is the easiest part of learning for a seminarian. Because you know what is the subject, who is the teacher, what is the hour. But many things God is going to teach us outside the box. And maybe when you go, for example, to visit family in holidays, your serious lessons are taught there. You don't know. For us, actually, to be in the seminary is very enjoyable. It's the easiest thing in the world, just to stay in seminary and study. It has challenges, but it's what we like. But many times, education comes when you don't expect. For example, when you travel and you are stuck like Father Cyprian in Doha airport. That is maybe where God is teaching you something. Or I want to come here, airport is closed. I am planning to, take taxi to go to the border, and then I don't find, flight from the border to Istanbul. And then again, the airports are open. So we are in hands of God. God is teaching us that I have full control. No one has any control. Just learn that you have no controls and no one, no government, nothing except God. Or when you become ill, you think, oh, I'm missing my lessons. No, actually, God has big lessons to teach you when you are ill. You are not missing lessons. Family challenges, encounters with strangers, unexpected events. These are all opportunities that God uses to teach us. Especially This is unlike any maybe ordinary educational system. Ordinary educational systems, they give you the main lessons with previous warning, notices, etc. Yeah? But God loves to give us lesson by surprising us, where we don't expect. Because you have to be always alert. Yeah? And God can function better when He surprises us. Because then you become natural. Yeah? You cannot pretend. When something in the environment is ordinary, we can, be deceiving ourselves. I am patient. Why? Because I go, the right time to the school, I don't, for example, lose my concentration, etc. But this is not test. The test is when something unexpected happens. Do you lose your patience? Do you lose your sincerity, etc.? So God teaches through surprising scenarios. Not always, but big lessons come in surprising scenarios. Not only through a structured learning. This is there, but it's not the main part. Divine education requires human cooperation. God doesn't force His teachings onto our mind and heart. God is actually, in a sense, it's interesting. In some issues, God is very straight. But when it comes to giving the gifts of wisdom and inspirations, etc., God is very shy, if I use proper words. Shy in the sense that He doesn't very clearly say, I have this for you, you should take it. He very gently somehow, from maybe one side, another side, offers something. He wants, pardon?
Politeness.
Yeah. And He wants us to say, can I have this? Please give me this. Yes? Many great gifts come like this. God never, forces you to take these gifts. So, God invites but does not force. And this is why, we need to always pray to God and ask God. Because even, for example, if I'm seminary for, tens of years, still God may not offer me that special gift. Yeah? I have to keep asking Him, and if He sees in my heart that I am really ready and I am really appreciative, then He would give me. This kind of gifts cannot be given without the other party being prepared to receive it. So God invites but does not force. To enroll in the school of God is to commit to continuous learning, 24-hour, 7 days, not limited to formal study. You need to be committed to humility. Both our sisters talked about humility. Sister Caroline talked about 12 levels of humility. And Sister Amvarita talked about the selflessness and humility. So this is very great virtue. Alertness. Alertness is very important. I will mention the example of Moses. You have to be always alert. With God, you have to be always alert. Otherwise, you miss something great. Like you are, for example, traveling with a teacher, you have to be always making sure you don't miss anything, because this teacher is maybe in a classroom environment, or maybe over a meal or something, is teaching you something. God is always teaching. Openness to divine guidance. Unfortunately, many of us religious people, we are not really open to divine guidance. We define for God, God, please send your guidance from ways I am used to. Yeah, don't send me from unfamiliar, channels. For example, I am a Shia, please use only Shia channels. I am a Benedictine, please use only Benedictine channels. Don't, shock me with sending from other sources. But we have to be open to divine guidance, no matter where he chooses to send the message through. Now, the example of Moses. Moses was a great student in the school of God, who became also a teacher. So, Moses was trained through diverse life experiences. Part of his training was in the palace of Pharaoh. Yeah? In the palace of Pharaoh, he received some of his training. At some point, he was working for Prophet Shu'aib as a shepherd. 8 or 10 years he worked for him. He went through lots of hardship, hunger. In Islamic narrations, we have that at some point he didn't have anything to eat except only, something like grass and, plants, to the extent that his skin became green. He had nothing else to eat. So God says in the Quran to Moses that I built you for myself. Estana'tuka linafsi. But how did God build Moses for himself? Not by registering him in a luxurious boarding school. Yes, some point he was in palace of Pharaoh, but he had to experience also poverty. He had to experience also loneliness. So everything was part of God's plan for preparing him. And then when was his first graduation ceremony? In a very dark and cold night, when he was taking his wife, his family, worried about their safety, he saw a fire. The Quran says, فَقَالَ لَأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا. He told his family, stay. I saw a friendly fire. آنَسْتُ نَارًا. Okay, this is not a fire which is worrying. It was a fire which was giving acquaintance. And he said, wait, Kuthu, stay here. I go and check. Because if you want to check something, you don't take all family or community with you to check. You tell them, wait here, I go and check. And if there is something good, I will bring for you. So he said, I will go. Maybe I find guidance. Maybe I find, some fire to bring to you so that you can warm yourself. So from this, we realized that it was dark and cold night. So when he went and saw that fire from the bush, then God started talking to him for the first time. And God said, أَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ. I have chosen you. فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. Listen. Sister talked about Saint Benedict starting with listen. So the first thing also God said to Moses after saying, I selected you, was listen to what is being revealed to you. Okay. Did God tell Moses in advance that in such a day, such a time, I am going to start sending revelation to you? No. No prophet, expected that to happen. So God surprised him. But if Moses was not alert, if Moses was not seeing every side, every angle, he would have missed this fire. Because these fires were not in front of them. He said to family, wait, I am going to check. So it means that it was on the side. Okay? So you have to be always alert 360 degrees. Because opportunities may not come right to your face. You say, hello, I am an opportunity. Yeah? Many times opportunities are when you don't expect. You have to be alert and you have to grab them before they run away. And God's teaching is also holistic. It's not just addressing your mind. It changes you as an entire being and is surprising and is not linear. God is the most merciful teacher. The Quran says, Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. You know, God has two names, proper names in Islam. One is Allah, one is Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman comes from the root Rahma, which means mercy. So you can say Allah, you can say Ar-Rahman. Interestingly, in the chapter 19, which is called after Lady Mary, we have most of the usage of Ar-Rahman. So in the chapter which is called after Lady Mary. So, I mean, this chapter has more usage of Ar-Rahman than other chapters. So teaching should be an act of mercy, rooted in the divine quality of Rahmah. In Farsi, we have this poem which is very interesting. It says, درس معلم گر بود زمزمه محبتی جمعه به مکتب آورد طفل گریز پارا. If the teacher is giving lesson of love, even the student who runs away from the school on Friday comes to the school when the school is closed because Friday is holiday, but hoping that maybe my teacher is the school.
Here's Sunday.
Pardon?
Sunday.
Here Sunday or Saturday. So even in holiday, the student who is Gorispa means he's always running away. He comes because the teacher was giving lesson of love. And you know, in Arabic also the womb is called Rahim. So Rahman, mercy, and Rahim, they are from the same root. So we receive the first love in the womb of mothers, but the whole world is in the womb of God. So the school of God aims to heal divisions. It's impossible that we have anyone in the school of God and causes division. You should be always healing divisions, overcome sectarianism, form hearts in wisdom, mercy, and truth. Formation, as the sisters talked. Pardon? Sectarianism.
What is the meaning?
Means you prioritize your own sect over others.
Sect, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Build universal fraternity. If you are in the school of God, God is the father of all. So you try to bring family of God together. You cannot get closer to God by dividing the family of God or leave them in division and say, I don't bother about your family, I love you, but I don't bother about your family. This is not acceptable. Religious traditions are complementary classrooms within one divine school. Okay? So now we have this experience of Wings of Unity in Sofia University with Focolare, and that is when, after many years of knowing each other in 2016, exactly 10 years ago, we started this project that we Muslims and Christians come together, share our thoughts, resources, but ask God to guide us, how we can move towards universal fraternity. So this initiative functions as a laboratory for discovering the school of God. Dialogue with Christian partners like Focolare, Sofia University, with Benedictines, with Missionaries of Africa, we have very good relation, and other groups. deepens understanding of unity, divine pedagogy, shared spiritual heritage. The School of God as a pedagogical model. It is both a theological vision of unity in diversity. We don't want uniformity. Yeah? We want unity, not uniformity. We don't want all people become the same. We want people to appreciate what they share and be united under God. I ask sometimes people this simple question. If God cannot unite us, what is there to unite us? Is there anything greater than God? So, if there is any perfect unity, is because of God. So, if we share God, why we cannot be united? And if I cannot unite with you under God, be sure that I cannot unite with any person, even with my family members. Because God is the same. Either I am able to unite because of God with whoever is connected to God, or I cannot do it at all. So, a theological vision of unity in diversity, a pedagogical plan for cultivating virtues, transformation of the heart, wisdom, and universal fraternity. The aim is not information. Unfortunately, many of our modern and even in our religious communities, many of our modern and religious institutions prioritize information over formation. It's all a matter of taking academic lessons, pass exams, etc. But formation is not very much receiving attention, unless in maybe some schools or seminaries. But all is matter of giving information. Giving information without proper information make you more arrogant and more confused. Instead of leading to understanding and wisdom, if there is no proper formation, knowing more, you think, oh, I am very precious. I am very superior because I have this degree, I have that degree from this university, that college. Formation is very much needed. See?
Theological vision of unity, diversity.
یعنی اون رؤیت اون الهیاتی نسبت به وحدت در عین تنوع. So the aim is not information, but transformation of the heart. In the end of time, we believe that Jesus and Imam Mahdi come together and they will unite humanity. Not by converting people to Islam or converting people to Christianity. They will unite humanity under one divine curriculum. They will restore justice, establish unity, reveal the fullness of the school of God. This is the culmination of the single divine message throughout history. So right from the beginning of the history, the plan of God was that at the end we'll reach universal fraternity. It's the greatest achievement of humanity. But God doesn't do this miraculously. God wants us to do it. He provides us with everything we needed. But He says, you should do it. Because you cannot force unity on people. Yeah? You cannot bring police to a family and keep them loving each other. Because if you don't love each other, you will go to prison. It doesn't work. So we have to welcome. As I said, God offers, but He doesn't impose His plan. So we need to work together. So my understanding is that in addition to whatever we do for formation inside our communities, to make them better Muslims, better Christians, etc., we need also to work together to prepare for that universal school under Jesus and Imam Mahdi. So we have to bring our ideas, resources, experiences together and form an environment, a holistic environment, which includes classrooms, prayer, and work. Okay? So we need all prayer, work, and study, but together. When it comes to teaching, for example, theology, suppose we have a joint school, okay, a branch of a school of God run by Shia and Catholics, okay? So the Shia who come here, the Catholics who come here should receive the most authentic theological teachings of their own tradition. So we cannot dilute or compromise. But most of the education is not about theology as such or about theories as such. It's about change of the heart, about transformation. So we need to make them kind people, humble people, caring people. Yeah? So if I see there is a sister, for example, Benedictine sister, or there is a Benedictine monk who can help my Shia students in developing humility, what should stop me from this? I don't ask them to teach them Shia theology, or you don't ask, Shia theologian to teach Christians, Christian theology. But for being a better human being, a better servant of God, is there any problem that we work together? I say Saint Benedict has these beautiful points. My Shia students should learn these things from a Benedictine teacher, or live in this Benedictine community for some time, learn from them how they have developed themselves into caring people, selfless people. You may also find that maybe some Shia, some Muslims have something good to offer in spirituality. We can learn. We should not bring walls and partitions to the school of God, because there is no limit. If you stop bringing limitations, then even people within the same denomination, they can say, this person belongs to that order, we are in this order, so we are different. Even people in the same order, I am from this congregation, that is from that congregation, so we are different. There is no end for this partitioning. But we say, we recognize legal boundaries, theological boundaries, but we don't recognize any boundaries for God's work. God is at work everywhere, and we should work together. So I hope we can start somewhere having a model, a sample of this school, which is holistic. They pray together. Of course, they can do also their own prayer in their own tradition, but they can also pray together, work together, study together, offer services together. And then those who graduate from this, they are well trained in their own tradition, but at the same time, they are able to work for unity of all children of God. This is what we need to start somewhere. I hope with your prayer and with your input, your ideas, etc., we can learn better, because we have to navigate. And this is very, very important project to prepare for that final stage of humanity. And no one alone has the solution. If I say, because I am a Shia, we have the Quran, we have our Imams, I know everything. No. If you say, because I am a Catholic, I know everything, I'm sorry, but I think this is not acceptable. No human being is perfect, even if our religion has all the things, but we don't understand everything. Especially when we want to work for human unity and fraternity. No single tradition can do it. We need to work together. Therefore, this idea came to my mind in 2017, just before coming here in September that we need collective sainthood. In the past, we have had many saints in Christianity, in Islam, etc. But to receive the gift, the wisdom of how to bring universal fraternity is too big to be given to one saint. We need collective sainthood. We need sincere, selfless, spiritual people from different traditions to work together, and then by joining their hearts, God can give them what we should do to bring unity to all human beings. My conviction is this, that this would be the greatest achievement of humanity. Universal fraternity. Nothing is like that. But this is the greatest challenge also. How to, because even bringing unity to one family is very difficult. Yeah? And bring unity to all over the world. This is what we need to work together and humbly ask God. But this is the plan of God, and this is going to happen sooner or later. Either we bring it earlier or we delay it. Either we will be instruments for that, or God will have his own people. There is no doubt about it. I hope we will have the honor of being part of it. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you.